Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us and learning about the best of SearchMonster. We're really excited to have you on our call today. Today's agenda is going to include our introductions, a SearchMonster overview. We'll jump into a live demonstration, SearchMonster in review, and discuss additional training opportunities, and we'll then open it up to Q&A. We're also really excited to announce that we are celebrating 30 years of finding the right fit. My name is Joanna Vargas. I'm a customer success advisor at Monster. I just recently celebrated my 10-year anniversary, and I have a little over 28 years of recruitment experience with a background in staffing and customer service. And I'll turn it over to Beth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Herman. I lead the enterprise sales team here at Monster. I've been with Monster a little over 9 years, and prior to that, I spent 25 years in the staffing business. Prior to that, I was in accounting and finance. Stay tuned. At the end of this webinar, we do have an exclusive offer that we are excited to share with you, and it will be included in the links that we send to you tomorrow. So why are we talking about sourcing and resume databases? There's a couple of reasons. First of all, companies, there continues to be tightness in the job market, and over 70% of employers we speak to report having difficulty in finding the right fit. The other thing to remember is candidates don't go to one place. On average, they use about 16 different resources in their job search. And with unemployment under 4%, and it has been for over 24 consecutive quarters, it's important that you stay competitive and you keep your pulse on where candidates are. A database can also extend your reach and increase your own visibility as well as promote your brand. And while you're doing that, you're making valuable connections and networking with candidates. I remember 2 different scenarios in my career when I found a candidate in a resume database that I didn't hire then, but I hired actually 3 years later. And then I had another situation where I found a candidate once and didn't hire them at the company I was at, but I kept networking with them and ultimately hired them at another company. Bases, the tool is there. It's just another tool in your toolbox. I'm sure most all of you are campaigning your jobs currently on job boards, hopefully including Monster, but that's only reaching out to active candidates that find you or find that job. A database allows you 24/7 access to look for talent. And Joe is going to share some tips and tools with SearchMonster and some tips that specifically allow you to let the tool work for you when you're not working. And again, something I mentioned is when you're talking to candidates, it's a great way in time to promote your brand and minimize the cost of an open role. According to SHRM, when we lose someone, it costs us 6 to 9 months of that person's salary to replace them. So it's really important to always be recruiting and always have a robust pipeline ready. And earlier this year, when we launched the Monster Work Watch report, we found that 95% of workers are actually searching or plan to look for a new role in 2024. And if you're like me, you always lose the best people when you least expect it. So again, always be recruiting, always be filling a pipeline to be ready for when you need talent. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jo, and she's going to give you an in-depth look at SearchMonster. And again, some just high-level tips that will help you find talent.
Thanks, Beth. All right, so SearchMonster does have a lot to offer, but here are 5 things to get excited about. The first one's going to be the Monster profile, which is going to sum up a candidate's skills, experience, and education for a quick look, and you can always compare candidates to see which are front runners. These are free to do and will not utilize any of your views. You'll always have access to private candidates. This is exclusive to our US database, and I'll review this in a little bit more detail when we get to the live demo, but we're also going to discuss the 3 different types of candidates that we have within the system. Also, SearchMonster's auto message campaigns, along with the follow-up messages, are going to send the messages for you. This way you can focus on other priorities. You'll also have metrics at your fingertips to help you see which emails are performing the best. And lastly, you'll always be in the know, as Monster is going to email you when new candidates meet your search criteria, and you can always reach those candidates before your competitor does. And as Beth mentioned earlier, a resume database gives you access to new talent as it arrives, and I'll show you how to automate that feature within the system. All right, give me 1 second here so I can go ahead and switch over to our demo site. All right, guys, so you should be able to see my home screen now.
We can, Joe.
You can?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, guys. So this is the actual site where you get to go to SearchMonster from whenever you log into SearchMonster. I want to briefly talk about some of the highlights within the tool. The first one is the ability to be able to search by 2 different search engines. So we've got a semantic search and we've got a Boolean keyword search. Within our Boolean keyword search, you'll have the ability to be able to copy and paste a string that you've already put together, or you can start typing it directly here. This section also allows you to search for candidates by phone number, email address, or LinkedIn profile. So giving you an opportunity to be able to specifically search for candidates. Today, we're going to go deep into semantic search and just talk about some of the benefits of semantic search. I know that a lot of times when we start off as recruiters, we're taught to search using the Boolean keyword search, but the beauty of the tool is that it gives you both options. And with the semantic search, we've got job title, skills and keywords, location, and radius. Under the job title section here, it's going to give you a few options. As an example, you can start typing a few letters of the job title that you're looking for, right? And the system's going to give you a list of values that are the most commonly used by both Monster and Google. Now, you can make a selection from the list that we provide. You can type in your own job title, or you can leave this section blank and search strictly by skills and keywords. This is going to give you an opportunity to be able to target candidates based on specific skills or keywords that you add here, and it's not tying that search to a specific job title. So again, you have an opportunity to break it up and search either by job title and skills and keywords, or just by a job title, or just by skills and keywords. So it gives you a lot of options here. The skills and keywords is going to work the same, where the system is going to give you an opportunity to select from those most commonly used values. Or again, you can type in your own skills and keywords. Now, initially, to run the most basic search, like I mentioned, you'll need either a job title or a skill and keyword. After you hit search, the system is going to allow you to add up to 4 more. So you can search 5 job titles at any given time, and you can search up to 20 skills and keywords at any given time. Next up, we have our location. So it gives you an opportunity to type in a city, a state, a county, a zip code, or as a best practice, the way that I like to do this is I leave this section blank so that I can search nationwide. That's going to allow me to search all of the US so I can get an idea based on the details that I add to my search, how many candidates are really out there. And then I can utilize the advanced options that we're going to talk about in a few minutes here to allow me to filter and be able to find those ideal candidates. Wanted to briefly mention that on this home page, once you click search, the system is going to automatically save all of your active searches here. So as you can see, I have up to 9 searches per page, and I have about 6 different pages listed here. And there isn't a limit in reference to how many active searches you can have in the system. But when you are done working on a specific search, you have the option to be able to archive it. And basically you can put it here. You can see that it's grayed out. The system allows you to unarchive it if you want to go back to utilizing that search again. You can clone searches or duplicate them so that you don't have to recreate them again. And you can also delete searches that don't have an active campaign running against it. So you'll have options. As an example, if a search that you ran isn't what you were looking for, you decided you want to start again, you can always delete that search and it'll remove it from your homepage. But again, you don't have to click a save button. The system is going to automatically do that for you. Okay, so now talking a little bit about advanced options on a high level, just wanted to point out some of the important ones here. First and foremost, I briefly mentioned private candidates. So we do have 3 different types of candidate profiles. The first one is going to be candidates whose profiles you can see all of their data. You'll see their name, their location, a candidate card, and resume. Then we've got candidates who have selected to be confidential. So they'll show up as confidential candidates, and their name and location is going to display as confidential, but you can see a full profile. And then we have private candidates, which we automatically check for you so that you don't forget to include these in all of your searches. But private candidates do take up about 35 to 40% of our database. So it's a large pool of candidates that have chosen to be private. So whenever you run a search, you won't see a private candidate's profile, but you will be able to engage with those candidates by sending an auto email campaign. And if that private candidate decides to respond to you or click on a link within that email, you'll have an opportunity to view that candidate's full details. Okay. We also have the ability to limit the results to candidates willing to relocate or limit the results to candidates designated as veterans. Within our system, if a candidate has self-identified as a veteran, it'll show up with the letter V, a little box with the letter V. And if they've chosen to self-identify as diverse, they'll show up with the letter D. So they're just some of the options that you're going to see. So we have a few other options here. We've got work authorization, job duration, years of experience. You can decide to choose to search for candidates by specific companies or schools. You can add your degree or major. We've got the exclude keyword, which is one of my personal favorites because this is going to give me an opportunity after I run my search to determine what specific resumes I want to remove from my search. So I have an opportunity to exclude job titles, industries, or company names. So it gives you a lot of options there. Under the profile search criteria, we've got resumes updated where you can make a selection there. You can also search the system for candidates by name. So as an example, if you find a candidate in a different search engine that you really like, but you don't want to pay the fee that they're charging you to engage before seeing additional information, you can type in a candidate's name and either a skill and keyword or a job title. That's the most basic search you can do. Hit search, and the system is going to bring back any variation of the name James Taylor. So whether it has a middle initial, a prefix, or a suffix, you'll be able to see a list of all those candidates. And the system allows you, again, to look at an in-depth profile where you can determine if this is the candidate that you were looking for before you utilize any of your views. And then you'll have additional options here: citizenship, language proficiency, security clearance, desired candidate salary, willing to travel, and education. So those are some of the filters that you can utilize in order to be able to maximize your search results. What I'd like to do now is go into the software engineer role that I created here. So just kind of talk again, high level, how I put this search together. In this case, I did do a job title, right? But as I mentioned before, I can always remove the job title and then I can add software engineering as maybe a skill or keyword. Right? You can add up to 4 more job titles, as I mentioned before, a total of 5. And then the skills and keywords, we give you an opportunity to be able to make these required or unrequired, right? So that you can determine which ones are going to be a good, which ones are required fields and which ones are more nice to have features. For this particular search, I didn't select a location. I left that empty. But as I mentioned before, you can add up to 5 different locations to search from. Resume updated, this is going to give me an opportunity to select that range. And then again, any of those fields that we just talked about in the advanced options are going to be included here for you. Years of experience, I've added 8+ years of experience and I made that required. My degree or major, I have both computer science and software engineering. And then for this particular search, I added that I'm looking for candidates that have a bachelor's degree. Now, whenever you get your initial searches, something that I highly recommend before I do anything else is I compare my top candidates. And the reason that I do that is I want to see, did I run the right search? Do I need to make any changes? Do I need to add any exclusions? Or am I going to be able to find additional job titles or skills and keywords that I can incorporate into my search? So if I come here and I check these boxes here, and again, I typically do the top 5, but you can actually compare any 5 candidates at any given time. After I make that selection here, I can click on this box here, and it gives me an opportunity to be able to see these candidates side by side. And it gives me a lot of information up front. Did they check a box to state that they're authorized to work in the US, their location, most recent job title, most recent company, experience, relevant skills, desired salary if they've added that information, their years of experience, their education level, and whether or not these candidates are willing to relocate. From here, you can actually take, for example, any of these job titles or skills and keywords, and you can, as an example here, I'm going to take this one here. I can always copy this value and I can go back to my initial search and I can add this as a skill or keyword, right? Sorry about that. I can add that as a skill and keyword, right? So if you find values either within the compare tab or within these candidate profiles that you want to incorporate into your search, it's easy to just copy and paste. Then the next thing that I do after I've determined that I have run the right search, what we always recommend is to enable notifications. So enabling notifications, I briefly mentioned, is that a Monster is going to do the work for you. So basically what you're doing by enabling these notifications is you're saying to the system, send me an email when there are new candidates that match this search. Now the system is going to default that to daily, but you have options here to change that. And the email receiving the notifications is going to be your email address because you're logged into the system. But let's say that you need to go out on PTO or you have an emergency, and this is an important role that you're working on, and you don't want to miss out on any great candidates. You can always edit this email address so that someone else can receive those notifications on your behalf. Now, what the system is going to do, it's going to email you and say, hey, Anne, you have 5 new candidates that match the search criteria for your software engineer role. It'll send you a link where once you click on that link, it'll give you a list of those candidates that you can view, and then you can determine how you would like to move forward with those candidates. Now, by doing so, also, again, you don't have to keep coming back into the system and rerunning the search, right? The system will do the work for you, so you can sit back and relax and just wait for these new candidates to be emailed to you. So again, always recommend enabling notifications. Once you've determined that you have the right search, you've compared your candidates to make sure that you have, all the correct data, then you're going to see that you're going to have your matches. The number of matches that come up is going to be listed here. And then from here, you'll have an opportunity to be able to scroll down to see these candidate cards, or you can always click on here, giving you an opportunity to open it up to what we call the Monster profile. So the Monster profile, again, is a free view, and it's not going to utilize or deduct any views. And you're going to see that within the Monster profile, it gives you an opportunity to see skills. You'll be able to see makeshift resume, right? As well as additional information down at the bottom here that the candidate has included. So their education, additional information such as they're willing to travel, relocate, or education level, and then some target locations. So we give you a really good preview of that candidate before you decide to take an action on this candidate. And as you can see from this actual profile view, the system will highlight any of the keywords or job titles that you've included in your search. So whether you have 2 skills and keywords or 20, if that candidate has that experience and it's noted on their resume or on their profile here, you'll be able to see that data highlighted. Right? From there, if you decide to take an action on a candidate, as an example, you want to see the candidate's actual resume. I want to show you guys this view as well. So this is the resume that the candidate has actually uploaded. It'll have their phone number, email address, and anything that's listed on their resume, right? But again, all of those highlights are going to be there for you so that you can easily identify, is this the right candidate for this fit? And how do I want to engage with this candidate? We give you multiple options in reference to engaging with candidates. The first one is you can, click on that resume. You can forward the candidate to someone else or yourself. You can download the resume. You can send the candidate an email. You can add candidates to folders. Folders are a great way for you to be able to build a pipeline. So as Beth had mentioned, when you have candidates that you really like, they may not be a great fit for this current role, but maybe you want to save this candidate for a future role. You can always add candidates to folders. You can create your own folders, or you can have favorites. And then you can go back by going into My Candidates and Manage Candidates. You'll have an opportunity to be able to see all of those candidates within your folders. So it's a great way to keep your candidates there for future positions or current positions that you want to pull out. In addition to that, you have the option to favorite candidates. So you can either favorite candidates from their candidate card, or from their profile here. And we'll talk a little bit about how that works in a little bit. But in addition to that, you also have the option to skip specific candidates. So as an example, I'm going to click on Robert Bradshaw, and I'm going to say that Robert is somebody that I've already worked with in the past, or I've placed in a position already. I can come here and also skip these candidates so that in case I'm going to send out communications, those candidates aren't included. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes here. But there are different ways that you can email candidates. The first one is going to be by sending an individual email. You would click on the candidate card and click on send email, right? And you're going to see that it's going out to one candidate. And we'll talk about these messages in just a few seconds. You also have the option to be able to send a bulk email. Now, bulk emails, the most that you can send is a total of 40, but basically you would check the box here to be able to select those candidates. And then you'd come here to be able to send in bulk, right? And now what's going to pop up is 5 different candidates. From here, you'll have an opportunity to send an email to compose this email, right? And start, entering the data that you'd like to put in the email here. But what's going to take place is when you create an individual bulk or a campaign, we have what are called the 5 and 10-day follow-ups. So if I'm sending this to 5 candidates, and as an example, let's say Ryan and Robert either clicked on a link within my email, or maybe they responded to my email, right? Then the other candidates that are remaining, the other 3 that didn't have an opportunity to respond, they will receive the 5-day follow-up. But you do have to turn these on. So we encourage you to always turn on the 5 and 10-day follow-up, because what's going to take place is, like I mentioned before, those candidates that haven't already taken an action will receive a 5-day follow-up and a 10-day follow-up. And basically these 2 are super easy to create, just the same way that you would create the initial email. But the beauty of it is that these are free. So it's not going to charge you any additional views or deduct any additional views in order to send these 5 and 10-day follow-ups. And once you start adding templates into the system and you start getting used to sending out these communications, the system is going to do the work for you so that you don't have to remember, hey, I haven't gotten an email from that favorite candidate that I'm really looking forward, to speaking to, because the system's going to do it for you. So this is a great way to be able to follow up with candidates by, sitting back and relaxing. Once you create the messages, they'll go out and the system will do the work for you. All right, and then the next one that I want to discuss here is the ability to be able to set up campaigns. So a campaign is going to be a little bit different. A campaign, what you're telling the system is, I want to send it to all 207 candidates. Anybody that I put in my favorites bucket is going to receive my email first, and anyone that I've chosen to skip is not going to be included. So in this case, I've only skipped 1 candidate, right? So it's only going to go out to 206 candidates. And then from there, you'll have an opportunity to come here and set up a campaign. And this is going to be the exact same setup where you've got your initial email, your 5-day follow-up, and your 10-day follow-up. The only difference here is because you are choosing to send to such a large number of candidates, you want to make sure to go into edit settings, and we give you an opportunity to be able to set the frequency, timeline, and how many emails are sent per day, right? So from here, the email expiration date always defaults to 30 days from today's date. But basically, you're telling Monster, hey, find and email newly matched candidates every day until this day. So as long as your campaign is active and it's running, if the system finds candidates that meet all of the criteria that you've selected here, then the system will automatically email them for you, so that, again, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about coming back to the search and trying to see if you find new candidates that match this criteria, because the system will do it for you. It allows you to select a date. If 30 days is too far out and you need to fill this position by a specific date, you can always make that selection. The maximum daily sends always starts off with 100. And basically, this means that you can send out 100 emails per day, whether you're running 1 campaign or multiple campaigns. This is done in increments of 25, so you can make the selection here. But another thing that's really great is if you are running successful campaigns, then the system is going to allow you the system will reward you. And you'll see that maybe you log in one day and you have 500 or 1,000 to send out. Next up, the system also allows you to exclude specific candidates from receiving your email communication. So as an example, maybe someone else from your corporation is working on a similar role, right? And you want to make sure that you're not targeting those same candidates. You can choose to exclude these candidates from receiving an email, so you can make a selection from any of these. And then once you send out your campaign and you've put your email together, you'll have an opportunity to preview it, and it's going to go out to those candidates. So just something to note, that again, it's going to give you an opportunity to run multiple searches, right? And you'll have an opportunity to either email candidates individually, in bulk, or again, by those campaigns. And then lastly, before we go back to the PowerPoint presentation, I just wanted to add that when you run a campaign, that's when you're going to have the opportunity to be able to include those private candidates. And again, those private candidates you're not going to see in the list here, but they are included in the total number of matches. And if you target one of those candidates and they respond to you, then you'll be able to see that profile. All right, just wanted to briefly add that the system also does notify you on your homepage which ones you have notifications enabled for. And when you have any campaigns that are running, you can easily access the performance and see some reporting details on how that campaign is working out, how long ago you sent it, how many days are remaining, that open percentage rate, and that click-through rate. In addition to that, once you click on here, you'll be able to see that summary. And as those emails start going out, the candidate names will start appearing here so that you can see which ones you've already engaged with. All right, guys, so that's all I have for the live demo. I'm going to go ahead and take it back to the PowerPoint presentation. One second here. Sorry about that. All right, so you should be able to see my PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, so next up, just want to briefly mention some of the highlights of what we learned in the demo today. First and foremost, you'll have an opportunity to be able to run a semantic or a Boolean keyword search, giving you that option. Next up, you can run a traditional job title search, or you can dive in on just the skills and keywords as we talked about. You can reach our private candidates, which again is exclusive to those auto message campaigns. You can search by name, phone number, email address, or LinkedIn profile. You can search from 3 different messaging options, right? So you can send, again, those individual messages, bulk messages, or auto campaigns. Plus, it includes those free follow-up emails that we just talked about. Next up, you get a free preview with the Monster profile, right? So you can see skills, experience, education, and candidate information without utilizing any of your views, so that you can make a decision if that's going to be an ideal candidate for your position. And then lastly, the savings are built right in, as Monster's inventory and views configuration is less costly than a recruiter seat. And then for my last slide here, before I turn it over to Beth, I just wanted to add that once you have purchased SearchMonster, we do an introduction to SearchMonster, so a thorough training to your recruiters. And in addition to that, we do offer additional free Monster product training to include SearchMonster messaging, using Boolean within SearchMonster, and job ad best practices. We also offer on-demand training guides and videos via our help center, which includes those best practices. And then employer resources, where you get expert advice to recruit, hire, and lead. All right, so let me go ahead and turn this over to Beth.
Thank you, Joe. Great stuff. I hope everyone enjoyed that and got a lot out of it. We do have a few questions I'm going to address here in a moment, but I did want to let you know that as part of participating in this webinar today, we are giving you an exclusive offer of 25% off a SearchMonster license. It is valid on a 12-month subscription with a minimum of 10,000 views. And this offer will be held open through the end of the year. Also, what we'd like to offer is a free data audit. Both of these offers, Joe, if you want to go to the next slide,
Sure.
we've got a QR code here if you want to snip this right now to redeem, or rather scan the QR code, we will be sending out a link to this recording tomorrow along with the slides. And we will also have this offer in there, so anyone can take advantage of this offer today, either by scanning the QR code, or you'll get it in the link tomorrow. Clean data is a very big topic right now. You need the information in your ATS to be current. And we are working with a lot of customers today by taking a portion or all of your data and scrubbing it and bringing and delivering back updated information.
Thank you,
Okay,
Beth.
I am going to go into the Q&A here, and we have a handful of questions. Joe, this one would be for you. Are email campaigns using views credits?
Yes, they actually will be using your credits. So whether you send an individual, a bulk email, or campaign, it will be utilizing your credits. That's why it's really important that when you put your campaigns together, when you're putting your searches together, that you're targeting those ideal candidates by using all the advanced options, so that you know that you're only targeting the candidates that have the skills and experience that you're looking for.
But Joe, we also, so I think the caveat is when you choose to take an action with a candidate, view the resume. You've already looked at the profile at no charge, but when you take an action, view a resume, download, email, you can take multiple actions in the first 30 days. And that's only
That is correct.
one view. So
That's correct.
I think also too, probably what might be behind this question is when you decide to bulk or campaign and do the 1, 5, 10 day, that's considered one view within 30 days.
That is correct.
So yeah, so the 1, 5, we encourage you to turn on the 5 and 10, because most candidates actually respond. We find the bulk of the responses are in 5 and 10 days versus the first, but you will not be burning through views. I do have a question here, and I see the name Jennifer Hyatt. Jennifer, I might have you email this to me. Can Monster be integrated into UKG? We have many integrations. I believe we can. I want to make sure, because I'm certainly well aware of UKG. I don't see it a lot, but I'm fairly certain we can. But I'm going to give you, and anyone can take my email address and email me any questions. Jennifer, Hyatt, I'm going to ask you to email me at beth.herman, HERMAN, @monster.com. Again, that's Beth, BT.herman @monster.com. Okay, Joe, I also have a, excuse me. We had another question on, can you explain how you searched for someone using their LinkedIn profile?
Sure. So basically, you would go into the Boolean keyword search on the open text field, and you would take the URL. So if you go onto LinkedIn and you click on somebody's profile and you're like, oh, I want to see if this candidate is in Monster, you would basically click on the link at the top of your browser, and then you copy and paste it into the Boolean keyword search. That's going to allow you to see if that candidate is in the system. But again, you will have to use the full URL in order for that to work. And one of the great things too is that we actually have a nice little demo within our help center that allows you to see exactly how that's done, so that you don't make a mistake when you're trying to search for that.
Thank you. Also, a question came in. Can you remind me how we search for veteran candidates?
Sure. Within the advanced options that we looked at, we have a little checkbox that says limit the results to candidates designated as veterans. Now, something that I always recommend is to try this search multiple ways, because if a veteran has gone into their profile and checked a little box that says they're a veteran, then they automatically show up in our system, like I mentioned before, with the letter V in a little box, just letting you know that they're a veteran, right? So you have the ability under the select candidate types, which was right above the include private candidates section. You check that box, and you're only going to receive results for candidates that have self-designated as veterans. But there is a different way to search as well. If you decide, for example, that you want to make sure that you target all of these veterans or military candidates within the system, I always highly recommend that you run a separate search, and within the skills and keywords, you type in the word military, you type in the word veteran, so you can target those candidates that might have forgotten to check that box when they created a profile, but maybe they put it somewhere on their resume. So there's multiple ways to be able to target those candidates. Great question. Thank you.
Another one, excuse me, can you explain why you suggested to search by skill versus title?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we choose to search by skill versus job title is based on the fact that job titles can maybe hold you back a little bit. And I'm not saying this because of the system's not capability to search, but basically because job titles can differ by industry, by company, by location, right? So what I may call a Java developer, maybe a company has listed it as something else, like a developer engineer or something of that nature, right? So if I add only specific job titles, and the system is only going to target those job titles. But if I remove the job title and only add skills and keywords, now I'm targeting all of the candidates regardless of what that job title is listed as. And it's going to search by those skills. So we'll target those skills and pull those keywords from the resume.
Thank you. This one's probably more for me. This one just came in. Is there a free trial period? Hold on. There's a free trial period we can utilize. Yes, there is. I will give you the caveat, though, that we would want to have access to your team. We will do a free trial, but we want to train up front, and we ask that you also help drive utilization. So during that trial period, we can get a good idea if they really dove in and used it. I'm going to say probably the best way to get that question answered sooner than later is, again, you can come to me, beth.herman@monster.com, and I will route you to the person who supports your account. But yes, great question. We do give a free trial period, typically 2 weeks, and 500 views. Have another question. Can you speak to the, I could answer this, but Joe, I'm going to let you. Can you speak to the value of semantic search versus Boolean?
Yeah, so the value of both, one, the Boolean keyword search, right, as I mentioned before, I think is something that we're all trained in when we initially start searching. Like, this is how you're going to search for candidates. But when you're putting a Boolean keyword search, right, there's so many different pieces that you have to put together when you're putting that Boolean. You have to make sure that your commands are correct, that they're capitalized, and you have to make sure everything is spelled properly. So a Boolean keyword search is going to be something that you're going to create and put together. While a semantic search, it gives you more options where, again, you can type in your own job title. You can select from the values that we provide, or you can leave that empty. But the good news is that both semantic and Boolean keyword search allows you to use any of those advanced options. So whether you decide to do one or the other, you can use the advanced options to be able to filter. In addition, keep in mind that you can go into the system and run both searches. Now, I sometimes recommend that, especially for some of those harder to fill positions, because depending on how you put that Boolean keyword search together and depending on how you set up that semantic search, you can get two different buckets of candidates to choose from. Like, you may targeting some of the same candidates, but maybe, again, just depending on how you put that together, it's going to determine what your results are. So I think it just really depends on your preference as well.
Thank you, Joe. We have another one here. Can you please tell me the difference between private and confidential candidates and how I can reach them?
Sure. So confidential candidates, again, are candidates whose names and locations are hidden from their profile, but everything else you're able to see. And confidential candidates are going to be included in your searches, so you'll be able to target them in any of your searches. Private candidates have chosen to check a box on their profile that says, I'm a private candidate, and I don't want anybody to be able to see any personal information. So my profile is hidden from the actual searches, but underneath the advanced options section, we automatically check a box that says include private candidates. So private candidates will always be included on your searches. You just can't see their profile, their details. And again, the only way to engage with them is by sending those auto email campaigns.
Awesome. And I think we have answered all the questions. Could you do me a favor, Joe, and just roll back to the QR code? So
Sure.
give everybody another chance if you didn't have a chance to scan this. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for giving up some of your time today to spend some time with us here at Monster. I hope you found the information valuable. Again, we're excited to offer you this exclusive webinar offer, which is 25% off 10,000 SearchMonster views on an annual subscription. Each of you will be receiving an email tomorrow with a link to the presentation, as well as the slides that we reviewed and information on the offer as well. I'm going to check the Q&A one more time. I think we got them all. So thank you all once again so much for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon and a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. We look forward to hearing from you.